Most people believe that becoming wealthy is simply about earning more money. If someone earns a large salary, owns a nice home, and drives a luxury car, it's easy to assume they must have figured out the secret to financial success. But when researchers and economists study the behavior of wealthy individuals, they often find something surprising. The difference between people who build wealth and people who struggle financially isn't always income. In many cases, it's the kinds of things they choose to buy. Small purchasing decisions, repeated over years, can quietly shape someone's financial future. And once you start noticing these patterns, you begin to see that wealthy people often spend money in ways that look very different from what most people expect. One of the first differences appears in how money is used emotionally. Many purchases people make are not purely practical, they're emotional. A long day at work might lead to ordering food instead of cooking. Stress might lead to online shopping. A feeling of comparison might lead to buying something expensive just to feel successful. These decisions don't feel dangerous in the moment, they feel normal. But repeated over years, they create a powerful financial pattern. Every time someone spends money, they're reinforcing habits in the brain. Spending becomes automatic, especially when it's emotionally rewarding. The moment boredom appears, spending feels like the solution. The moment stress appears, spending feels like relief. The moment success appears, spending feels like a relief. The moment success appears, spending feels like a relief. The moment success appears, spending feels like a relief. The moment success appears, spending feels like a celebration. Over time, this automatic spending quietly shapes financial outcomes. Wealthy individuals often interrupt this pattern in a subtle way. They still enjoy life and make purchases, but they tend to separate emotion from financial decisions. Instead of asking, "Do I want this right now?" they often ask, "Does this improve my life in a meaningful way?" That small shift creates a pause between desire and action, and that pause changes everything. Most financial mistakes happen in moments of impulse. When there is no pause between wanting something and buying it, the brain rarely considers long-term consequences. The purchase simply happens. But when a pause is introduced, even something as simple as waiting a day before buying something, the brain has time to evaluate the decision more rationally. Many people discover that the desire disappears once time passes. The item that felt essential suddenly feels unnecessary. Another major difference between wealthy spending habits and struggling spending habits involves consumptive versus value-driven purchases. Many purchases people make are purely consumptive. They provide a short experience and then disappear. A restaurant meal, an impulse purchase online, a product that quickly loses novelty. These purchases aren't inherently bad, but when the majority of spending falls into this category, very little lasting value is created. Wealth-building purchases, on the other hand, tend to create assets, skills, or opportunities. An investment account, a course that improves career skills, a tool that increases productivity, or a book that changes the way someone thinks. These purchases may not feel as exciting in the moment as a luxury purchase, but they have long-term benefits that compound over time. Compounding is one of the most misunderstood forces in personal finance. Most people imagine wealth being built through massive financial wins or huge salaries. In reality, wealth is often built through consistency and time. Small amounts of money invested regularly can grow into surprisingly large sums over decades. The key is that the money must remain invested long enough for growth to multiply. Every dollar spent on a temporary purchase is a dollar that can no longer participate in that compounding process. And this is where opportunity cost becomes powerful. $100 spent today might not feel significant, but if that same $100 were invested and allowed to grow for 20 years, it could become thousands. When this realization becomes clear, spending decisions begin to feel different. Another pattern researchers have observed is that wealthy individuals often prioritize buying time. Time is one of the most valuable resources anyone has, yet many people spend money in ways that actually reduce their freedom. Expensive possessions often come with hidden costs. A more expensive home requires larger mortgage payments and more maintenance. A luxury vehicle requires higher insurance and repair costs. These expenses can quietly lock someone into working longer hours just to maintain their lifestyle. Some wealthy individuals instead focus on purchases that create flexibility. They might spend money to automate tasks, outsource small responsibilities, or simplify parts of their life so they can focus on higher value work or personal growth. In this way, money becomes a tool that creates more time instead of something that consumes it. Another subtle difference appears in how purchases are evaluated. Most people evaluate purchases based on affordability. If something fits within the monthly budget, it feels acceptable. Wealthy individuals often evaluate purchases based on opportunity cost instead. They ask a different question. What could this money become if invested over time? When someone starts thinking in terms of opportunity cost, spending decisions begin to change dramatically. A few $100s spent casually today might represent thousands of dollars of lost future value. That realization slowly reshapes financial habits. Another difference between people who build wealth and people who remain financially stuck is how they think about delayed rewards. The human brain is naturally wired to prioritize immediate gratification. If given the choice between a small reward today or a larger reward in the future, most people instinctively choose the reward they can experience right now. This instinct made sense thousands of years ago when survival depended on immediate resources. But in the modern world, this same instinct often works against our financial well-being. Every financial decision contains a hidden version of this choice. Buying something today provides immediate satisfaction. Saving or investing that same money provides a future benefit instead. The challenge is that the future benefit is invisible in the moment. When someone chooses to spend money, they experience the reward instantly. When someone chooses to save or invest, the reward may not appear for years. Because of this imbalance, the brain tends to underestimate the value of long-term decisions. But when someone begins to consistently choose long-term rewards over short-term impulses, their financial trajectory slowly shifts. Many wealthy individuals develop habits that make delayed gratification easier. One of those habits is automation. Instead of relying on willpower every month to save money, they create systems that automatically move money into investments or savings accounts. This removes the emotional battle from the process. The decision is made once, and the system handles the rest. Another habit involves changing the way purchases are evaluated. Instead of asking whether something is affordable, the question becomes whether it is truly worth it to trade. Every dollar spent represents time and energy that was used to earn that money. When someone begins to view purchases as exchanges of time, spending decisions become more thoughtful. A product that seemed inexpensive at first might feel very different when viewed as several hours of work. Over time, this perspective can dramatically change financial behavior. Spending becomes more intentional. Money begins to flow toward things that create lasting value rather than temporary satisfaction, and as these habits accumulate, the difference becomes clear. One path leads to constant financial pressure and the feeling that money always disappears too quickly. The other path leads to stability, flexibility, and the freedom that comes from knowing that money is working for you instead of slipping away. The difference between these paths is rarely dramatic. It's rarely a single huge decision that changes everything. Instead, it's thousands of small decisions about what they decide to buy, what they decide to delay, and what they decide to invest in instead. Those choices quietly shape financial life over time. And once someone begins to see the pattern, they realize something powerful. The difference between feeling broke and building wealth often starts with something as simple as choosing what to buy today. It might feel small now, but small actions repeated consistently are what compound into financial freedom. Awareness, intentionality, and patience are the tools that shift the trajectory of a financial life. I'm Brandon Invests, and if this video helped you understand the psychology of finance, subscribe for more.